the, I guess this is the March meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council, which is advisory to the Contra Costa Board of Supervisors. And the first thing on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Edgar?
The treasurer reports $3,000. We haven't used any of our funds this year.
Okay, the next item is.
Would it be in order to make a motion to spend some of that money? Here,
Well, sure.
What do you want to spend it on?
I think we need name badges like Tom's, now that we're gonna meet in person.
And business cards would be
Are those acceptable expenses?
Yes, they are.
I can take note of that and start with that.
That's how Tom got his.
Yeah.
I'm sure I got the opportunity and lost mine originally. I don't think we need a motion for it. I think that we just tell Edgar, badges and cards.
Badges and cards. Got it.
Please.
Okay, so we'll look at badges and cards. Anything else? Pizza? Okay. So that's the treasurer's report. We received the December minutes in our email. We had a few corrections here or there. Thank you, Nikki. I'd like to make a motion to approve the December minutes. Do I have a second?
Can I have a point of order, Tom?
Sure.
We didn't do a roll call.
We didn't do a roll call. So let's go ahead and retroactively do a roll call. Edgar?
Okay, Thomas Lang,
Present.
George Cleveland,
Oh, yes.
Susan Boudreau,
Yes.
Jim Herman. Okay, absent. Dr. Melinda McLean,
Yep.
Mickey Norris,
Here.
Tom Owens,
Here.
Shirley Rosenthal Whiston. Absent. Emily Wheeland. Absent. We have a quorum.
Okay, wonderful. So, motion to approve, December minutes. I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, take a vote.
I just had, wait, I just had a quick question. I didn't get to see all the changes. Did we make sure for the minutes to include Sue in there because the way I saw it, it kind of missed Sue?
Sue's in there.
I added Sue.
I did, okay, all right.
Oh, it's two.
That was it. That's all my question.
I'm looking at it right now.
Cool.
December.
Yeah.
No, give it away.
No,
So that takes care of the approval of the minutes. Now we go into the regular presentations. John, would you like to go first or last? in terms of
First, because I'm balancing between this and a Marina Bay Neighborhood Council meeting on my other screens, which I have.
Okay, John,
So I'll give a brief report. I'll go to and then I'm going to come back and say a few words when you take on this memo, when you take up and under, just to summarize a few things to best frame the discussion to get your input. So I will be monitoring this and coming back. And if I'm still on the other meeting, just go to the next land use item and I will be there. Okay.
Okay,
So just briefly, and I know I see Lon is on and may say something, but we had our big opening, ribbon cutting and opening of the new Pinole Valley Fire Station on Saturday. And the new arrangement where Contra Costa Consolidated Fire will now be providing fire service under a contract to the city of Pinole. So it's under one unified command. The Pinole firefighters are now employees of Con Fire. And so both stations in Pinole, downtown and Pinole Valley are operated by Con Fire. And of course, having that new station reopen, I think is a really positive thing and will improve fire response and will improve emergency medical response. Lon may add other things as well. You know, we made a presentation last week, our health department and myself, to the Richmond City Council with regard to the 24/7 emergency response system that we have ramping up. And, you know, what I should do is I'll send you their PowerPoint presentation and we can send it. And if you have any questions about it, we can talk about it at the next meeting, since it will, you know, be countywide. It'd be a way to respond to mental health crisis. Edgar is working on on a combination trash and metal dumpster day. And, our office will coordinate this. It's really important to have one central coordination here. And I know Edgar will be working with your illegal dumping committee. This would be for residents of El Sobrante to drop off metal or trash or wood or those kinds of things. So we're working on that and a particular date for that. County planning is still updating a lot of the input they received from each of the MACs, including yours. And, at the right time, we'll get another update with the revised community profile. I think we sent out to everybody a link to the community profile, and we still encourage you to provide comments, email us comments regarding that. That's a good way to do it. I think, Edgar, were we going to cover anything else? I think those were the main items. We don't have a lot to report. We're getting into budgeting at the county. So we're going through that. Anything else that Edgar, you wanted to say?
I just wanted to quickly, because I heard Sue. So the community profiles are the ones for the general plan. And I sent it on the newsletter. I can send that to you again, Sue. And I wanted just to quickly touch on the road diet study and the next steps, which would be conducting. I apologize, John, if you mentioned this. Conducting a town hall. This will be sometime later in spring, and that will be just to essentially get feedback from the community. It will be similar to the one that we had with the MAC, but this won't be specifically during a MAC meeting. The MAC will be invited, but it will be more of a presentation from Public Works with different community groups in and around El Sobrante. So as soon as we have that done with the date, I will send that out, or John will send that out. That's all I have.
I did want to, acknowledge Lieutenant Rodriguez from Bay Station here, he and some officers joined the community in North Richmond, where we did some community walking, looking at streetlights and where there may need to be brighter lights. So I just wanted to say, if any of you ever have any comments about that, about need to possibly have some increased lighting in parts of unincorporated El Sobrante, let us know. We could maybe plan to walk that area in the evening, when the lights are on, and get a real indication on that. And just wanted to thank the Sheriff's Department for joining us and being part of that. And I'm sure, we could all do that in El Sobrante as well. And you probably, if you're signed up, are getting notes from our calls from East Bay Mud's recorded system about controlled releases that they do out of San Pablo Reservoir to try to avoid flooding. I know their website shows when they may make some releases. We're expecting some large rains on Thursday and Friday. So sandbags are always available over at outside of the parking lot of the West County Jail that Public Works restocks. So that's the update. And finally, Facebook has let everybody know that today is Sue Boudreau's birthday. So just Facebook has told the world, we'll just wish Sue a happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sue. Happy birthday to you. I'm not sure she wanted that. No one to blame but you, John. Okay, all right.
Let you pick a bitch.
Yeah, that's what I was
So the official, we'll put it that we're officially congratulating Sue on her 55th
Yes.
birthday.
And by the way, thanks for it'll give us your feedback on the technology for this hybrid meeting. We're glad it's working out, and let Edgar know if there's anything that needs to change. So I should ask, are there any questions? And then I will switch over to the other meeting and then come back.
If there's any questions, Supervisor Jordan?
I'm just curious if there's, how we're doing with the COVID situation these days, and is that something we're tracking or?
Yeah, I mean, it is tracked. I mean, that we don't have accurate record of the number of cases because everybody's home testing, right? They're not getting the test at a clinic. And so, and the county has sort of ramped down its locations. There still are, vaccines are still available through your provider at drugstores or at the county clinic. Our stand-up location at the Richmond Auditorium is no longer. You can still go to the health center to get it. And I do know that the recommendation is to stay current with the boosters. And if you haven't had a booster, the new boosters out do protect against some of the current variants that are out there right now. And so that's a good thing. And I got a booster last fall, but the variants have slightly changed since then. So the boosters that are available now are even more up to date. So it's still important to be aware. And the good news is, we don't have we have plenty of hospital capacity. That's not an issue. ICU capacity, that's so when people get a case, they're not being, very few are being hospitalized. So that's the good news. So that between the nature of the variants, between the fact that many people, have been vaccinated and have been boosted, and I came down with COVID for the first time in December. It only lasted 5 days with me. I took Paxlovid as well. So it was like a mild flu. It wasn't a severe case. But it's still good to be cautious.
Does your office still have home tests?
We have plenty of home tests and masks.
Oh.
Yeah. If you need home tests, let us know.
Okay,
Yeah, John, another quick question related to that. Is anybody working on amending the Brown Act so that some
Yes.
of this?
Yeah. Yes, this is an issue all over. I was at an Air District meeting and I was talking to a supervisor from Sonoma, which is a big county, and people having to show up, like she said, we have a MAC, Municipal Advisory Council, up on the Sonoma coast, and they're canceling, it's in person, and they're canceling it because of the rains and tomorrow. I'm on the State Association of Counties Executive Committee, and I have raised this issue. I think the League of Cities and Counties are looking at trying to get a bill that would treat commissions different than elected bodies. Right now, you're under the same rules that apply to us. And it is an issue for county commissions and MACs. You can all, if you all want to do this from home, you can do it. You just have to post your home address and let people into your house if they show up. Right?
Brown Act.
Pardon? Yeah, I mean, you can all participate remotely if you post your home address on the agenda and let the public show up, which probably won't happen, but is a risk. So that's the problem. This is the pre-pandemic Brown Act, and the emergency provisions allow you only to take advantage for just cause twice a year, basically. So twice a year, if you want to do it from home and you have just cause, and you can do it twice a year from home and not have to post your address.
Let us know when it's time to write Buffy Wicks and Nancy Skinner and all of our elected.
We will. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Are there any further questions for Supervisor
I
Joy?
had a quick clarification. The road diet is sending out feedback requests from the community soon. What's the deal?
Well,
with
what
that?
we're going to do is we're in the process of developing a community survey that can go out with a link, and we're going to have a Zoom town hall meeting to hear from public, have a presentation, and have a Zoom town hall and send out community survey. So we're working on all of that now, Sue.
Thank you.
Questions from the floor?
Yeah, so I have one question. What is the possibility of getting more garbage cans out on the damn road?
So yeah, right. I mean, the county does not actually maintain those. We have an agreement with Republic. I think you should. We will follow up. There's not a program in which we can put more currently. I know that what we have out there, we've worked with merchants on that. We do not have a program where Republic or Public Works picks that up. So right now we have what we have out there, and I think this is an issue that we'll explore with Public Works.
Okay. Further questions? If there are no further questions, thank you Supervisor Joya. And
I'll monitor it and I'll be back a bit later. Okay.
anybody on the Zoom, Edgar, can you see anybody with their hand up?
Yeah, I see that there is a. Give me a second.
Sorry, trying to get used to this hybrid format.
Let's
Thank
see.
you.
When I was in the library to pick up
Oh,
some.
Oh,
kind of-
that's just in the chat.
that's just a chat.
Okay, is that a question?
No.
No, okay, I don't see any raised hands.
Okay, so we'll need to be careful to do that. All right, so
Thank you.
if we're done with Supervisor Joya's presentation, okay.
Where?
Where?
I'm sorry, it was this person. He was just messing with his computer.
All right, so, we'll go for the, Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, Chief Gage.
Muted one.
Good
evening. Buddy, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. The new library looks great. Look forward to come seeing you guys soon. So I've been update for the fire district. Supervisor Joya did a great job summarizing Pinole. The only thing I'd add is today we confirmed with the City of Richmond Fire Department that we are performing a full boundary drop auto aid agreement with the City of Pinole resources that are now provided by Confire. So what that means for the community is that we can go even deeper in terms of covering for each other. That's going to come in really handy in the Carriage Hills area of the City of Richmond, as Station 74 has got great access out there. So if Engine 63 from the Valley View Station needs assistance or they're tied up, we're going to be able to move Engine 74 into that area really quick. So that's a great upgrade for the services in the county. And also specifically for West County, having additional advanced life support staff engine company in the zone is going to really assist us in providing a better level of service. So we're all excited to see Pinole come on with Confire and be able to expand our services specifically out in the Pinole Valley. So I want to start off my report tonight just reminding everybody that if you haven't heard already, we're pretty much the night before a big, powerful winter storm that's going to hit us for about 3 days. So it's not too late to get out there early tomorrow, make sure that your gutters are clear and your local storm drain openings are clear. Could make the difference between having damage for you and your neighbor's properties and not. So public works crews I know are out there doing their best, but anything that we can get from the public in terms of keeping those drains clear, it's going to help us out. So we applied to the State Office of Emergency Services and received an emergency grant for upstaffing. So we'll be upstaffing a task force with 3 additional engine companies, a swift water rescue team, and then our type 2 hand crew, crew 12, as additional resources for the next 3 days to help us respond to the influx of calls that we will no doubt be encountering in the next 3 days to respond better for the needs of the public. Let's see, moving on. Confire just continues to expand as we talked about with the expansion in the city of Pinole. Our fire academy, Academy 58, graduated on February 15th. So there are now 28 new probationary firefighters out there to reinforce staffing throughout the county and expand some of the staffing that was necessary, like opening Fire Station 74 in Pinole. We already started our next fire academy because we're just growing and growing. So Academy 59 started just last week, Monday, March 6th, where we have 15 lateral firefighters from different departments throughout the Bay Area that are joining Confire and will enable us to upstaff a grant-funded rescue that will be expanding in June or July of this year. And what that is, that's going to be a 4-person rescue company that's going to be specially trained for all types of urban search and rescue type incidents to respond throughout the county. That unit is going to be deployed from Fire Station 86, our new Fire Station 86 in Bay Point. And it's kind of the central point for the district. So you can come right off of Highway 4 and head west, or you can go Highway 4 east or drop into Central County to be able to support our engine and truck companies on the more technical and complex rescues. The other update I have for you is a little bit, sad and tragic. On February 18th, you may have seen on the news, and I see a fellow public safety officer in the field there from CHP. We were responding to a vehicle accident on 680 in the early morning hours of February 18th. Our resources, California Highway Patrol, our medic units, and our engine companies all respond in a coordinated fashion whenever we have an accident on the freeway. And we actually, through a national standard, place fire apparatus in blocking positions from traffic that could be entering an accident scene to protect everyone operating at that scene, firefighters, paramedics, and police officers. Unfortunately, we had a Tesla come into that accident scene and strike one of our truck companies, which is a bad thing, but is much better than them striking a first responder. So I'm glad to report that there were no significant injuries to any first responders. We did have a firefighter that suffered a back injury who's still off duty. Unfortunately, our truck company in Walnut Creek was hit to the point where it's probably going to be totaled. And most unfortunately, the driver of the vehicle that struck our fire apparatus was killed in the accident. So I'm just kind of reporting out on this just to remind everyone, when you're out on the highways, please be extra cautious when you're on the freeway. And if you see any emergency lights on the freeway, that means to slow down and change lanes and try to get as far away as possible from those accident scenes. It's unfortunate that truck 1 is likely to be a total loss, and that's an over $1 million piece of apparatus that takes 3 years to replace. So I just wanted to report out on that. The last item that I have tonight, that's it. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have. We're happy to be in service to the community.
Okay. Thank you, sir. From the council, any questions from the SMAC?
Just to Lon, just thank you as always for your work and the work of your folks. We greatly appreciate you. We say it all the time, but it is the truth. We really appreciate the work that you do for us. So thank you, as always.
And I was at the event on Saturday, and it was fabulous.
Yeah, wasn't it? It was a long time. I've been in the county for 20 years. And right after I promoted to battalion chief, unfortunately, Station 74 had to close. So it's been closed for over 12 years. It's a wonderful thing to see come back. And George, thank you very much for the recognition. I really appreciate it. On behalf of the department.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. If there are no questions from the floor, are there any questions from our online?
I don't see.
No, okay. Thank you, Chief Gage.
You're more than welcome. Have a great night, everybody.
Okay, next we have the presentation by the Bay Station Commander, Contra Costa Sheriff, Lieutenant Mark Rodriguez. Lieutenant Rodriguez.
Hi, good evening, guys. Thank you guys for having me. I'd like to start off just with saying thank you to Supervisor Joy and his staff for including us on the walk in North Richmond to identify the street lights. Anytime we get the opportunity to work with both with the community and their office, it just makes things more streamlined and more efficient in addressing the problems. And I would love to do the same if that's a need in El Sobrante as well. I'll start off with the crime reports and then we'll move into some of the updates. For the month of February, we responded to 643 calls for service, which generated 76 reports. Select crime trends, going back up to previous months. So for the month of December, we had 15. Month of January, we were dropped down to 12. In the month of February, we had 15 again. Primarily, those are property crimes related to theft of auto parts, i.e. catalytic converters, as well as auto burglaries in general, and then vandalisms. Crimes against persons, we did see one robbery, and then also a couple domestic violence order violations. Coming up next month, we have our National Prescription Drug Take Back Day. That's going to be April 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in front of West County Detention Facility, which is at 5555 Giant Highway. You guys should have flyers out for that. They should be getting information distributed. At the beginning of this month, I'd like to recognize the Elks Lodge and just thank them again for their Law Enforcement Appreciation Night. We attended that as well as the other agencies within West Contra Costa County. And we had the opportunity to recognize our honoree, which was Deputy David Cruz. He's currently assigned as the North Richmond resident deputy, but he's willing to help, and he's been a great asset, not only for our agency, but on multiple occasions now, I've been contacted by outside agencies with their investigators wanting to speak with him because he's just so good at identifying and following up on crimes outside of our area that the criminals are returning back into our jurisdiction. So again, thank you to the Elks Lodge. That was great. That was my first time attending the event, and I really enjoyed it. One of the things that that's been coming to light and seems to be a continuing issue, and I'll post this in the chat for some additional resources, is illegal dumping. We're seeing it all over the county, but definitely on the west end. I know we have a mitigation deputy who's hit the ground running. He's newly assigned in that position, and he's been doing a great job. His name is Deputy Aaron Sakai. He's already identified suspects in multiple cases and gone and contacted them and generated the reports and forwarded them. For your guys' concern, and I actually was out there this morning just checking to see, but there's a constituent that I have pretty good contact with, and they always keep me apprised of some of the things that are going on. But off of Pinole Valley Road, both directions from Castro Ranch Road, there's been a real uptick in illegal dumping out there. And it's all sorts. Some of it is household waste. In one case, it was, multiple diapers, trash. Today, I saw a refrigerator on the side of the road, a dresser, and then what appeared to be, one of the trailers for yard waste. It looks like someone had dumped that on the side of the road. So, as a reminder, there was recently signs posted out there asking for help of the citizens that if they see illegal dumping, to go ahead and report it, and it has the contact number on there. You can always report it to the sheriff's office dispatch number. That'll get us out there. But we're working with environmental health services, public works, code enforcement, depending on the nature of the incident, to try and mitigate these things from happening, and then also ensuring that those that are responsible are being held accountable. So. For you guys, that is one of the areas that it's happening a lot. I know that the constituent that I've been in contact with has been very active on the Mobile Citizen app, and they also keep me apprised of when these things are happening. And I'd like to thank, I'm assuming they're a resident of El Sobrante. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm assuming, but they actually witnessed one recently and called it in, and we were able to make contact with that suspect. So. It seems the signs seem to be working and helping, but just know for your guys' area that is a hot spot. And if you guys see it, please report it to us, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So you guys' help is always appreciated. That's all I have at this time. Are there any questions for me?
Okay, thank you so much, Lieutenant Rodriguez.
He's predictable.
Yeah. Regarding the illegal dumping, do you want us to report it to you when we see it happening or post happening?
Both. You know, just both. If we're fortunate enough to see it happening, please call it in so that we can try and contact those folks. In some of these areas, cameras have actually been set up because the illegal dumping is so prevalent, and the county has actually increased the fines because it's such a big problem. And talking with Public Works, some of the cleanups of these when they're going out to get them, just based on the staffing and then the resources needed to actually remove the debris, we're talking about $2,000 every time. So you can imagine when we have, you know, some of these areas, we're talking about hundreds of illegal dumps. That adds up pretty quickly, and those are all resources that could be going to other programs. So yeah, if either or, as long as it's getting reported. And the other part is if it doesn't get reported, the debris stays there, you know, and then and especially depending on the type of material it is, it could be a public health hazard, especially if it's near a waterway.
So we normally have been reporting it through Mobile Citizen or the county. Should we continue with that, or should we report it to you too? And can we get more cameras and signs?
Yeah, absolutely. No, the Mobile Citizen app goes directly to Public Works, but you can also report it to dispatch and let us know that it's there. And then we also have a mitigation deputy who gets made aware of the locations of where these things are occurring, so he can go back and investigate as well. So yeah, both are acceptable.
And can we get the phone number of the dispatcher?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll say it now, but I'll post in the chat as well. It's 925-646-2441.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions?
Not
a question, but Lieutenant Rodriguez, thank you and the deputies for working on this, because it's kind of going to be a good thing where if I'm driving on Dam Road, I won't have to say to myself, what will I see on the side of Dam Road today? So we appreciate the efforts, especially Deputy Sakai working and getting in contact with the people who are causing this problem, you know, because it's an eyesore and we don't need it. People need to be more responsible and just treat the environment, treat other people with respect instead of dumping your crap on the side of the road. So thank you for your effort on that. It is much appreciated.
I appreciate the comments, George, and couldn't agree with you more.
Could you tell us what are you finding in terms of when you do find somebody who's being a suspect for illegal dumping? What kinds of reasons are they giving? Is there anything you'd like to tell us that we could possibly avoid it in the future?
Some of the reasons that we get are just the costs associated with taking it to a recycling center. However, I will tell you, we had a meeting last night, and one of the attendees had mentioned the cost within our county versus the cost in, say, Alameda County, and ours tend to be significantly less. The other that we get are contractors who, you know, they're trying to increase their profit margin, and instead of taking it and disposing of it responsibly, they're dumping it illegally. The problem there is that in some of those instances, the person who hired them can also be accountable, because technically it's still their debris. So you know, that's why we want to make sure that when you're doing it, you're making sure that the folks are following through on the service that they say they're providing and disposing it appropriately.
Yeah, in the end, you know, they're despoiling the environment, and they've got their hands in the taxpayer's pocket. So we're paying for their disposal. Okay, are there questions?
I have a problem with the semi trucks that are parking on Appian Way, and I don't know. I'm always torn between who's gonna handle it and whose responsibility it is. I spoke with the county. The county seems to think it's sheriff that needs to be ticketing and speaking to these individuals from your code enforcement or from your parking enforcement. But I can't seem to find any information on them. Is there?
And I second that, because I've got one right for my property as well.
Yeah, they're not, they're not supposed to be parking there. They're supposed to only be parking in industrial areas. They know where they're supposed to be parking and it's definitely not.
I even have a picture of the truck that always parks in front of
Oh, yeah,
my place.
So what's the answer, Lieutenant? What are we doing?
Yeah, so the confusion with some of that is we do have a MOU with CHP, which means that they tend to, we defer our traffic related matters to them based on our memorandum of understanding. But with that being said, we do have the ability to conduct enforcement on those things. So if you give me if you give me the locations, I will have our community services officer or a deputy go out and check it out. And if it can be cited or tagged for removal or towed at that time, we'll go ahead and do that.
I have a quick question about that. Is this something that you possibly could coordinate with the city of Richmond? The reason I say this, that I live off of Hilltop Drive and I'll come up to Hilltop and there are semis and 18-wheelers, but that actually where they're parked is not El Sobrante. It's the city of Richmond on the northern side of Hilltop, where I am is city of Richmond. That happens from time to time.
So they will.
Oh,
Yeah, well, actually,
never mind. Got the answer who to talk to. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I keep forgetting that. I forgot something in Richmond. So I know who to talk to. Cool, thank you.
I have one more is the cars that park in the bike lane and on the sidewalk on Avian. It's, when I talked to the county about it, they said that it's a problem that is not a one-time solution, that it's something that needs like a coordinated effort as far as ticketing or so that people get the hint that it's not the area to park. Because it's only a matter of time that somebody gets hit in the street, because it literally leaves nowhere for people to walk but in the street. The bike lane's taken up, the sidewalk's taken up, and I've almost hit 2 times. I've, come close to hitting people.
Yeah, I'll share that with the staff at the station to be on the lookout for that, and if it's happening, to get out and investigate it at that time. And also, if you see it, please call it in. You can call it in as blocking a driveway or blocking a sidewalk, and that way they can go out and take enforcement action as well.
It is literally, and I'm not over exaggerating here, all day, every day, any time of day, there is always at least a handful of cars on either side of Apian Way. Somebody is in the bike lane on the sidewalk. It's like, it's a constant, it's become like the new parking lot for people.
Do you have a nearest cross street or nearest intersection, just so I can be more specific with the directed attention?
Literally starting at, from like Pebble, practically down to the dam road,
Okay.
both sides of the street.
From where we're sitting right now to Pebble.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can go walk outside right now. I can probably point out 5 cars that are doing it.
All right. I will pass that along. Thank you.
But we do get the semis.
So,
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
thank you, Lieutenant Rodriguez.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
We just want to make sure, has anybody else in the room want to say anything? Anybody on Zoom want to ask Lieutenant a question?
I think there was something in the chat, but I don't know the answer.
Yeah, he did. I think it was about a link and phone number, things like that, and that was in there. So I think Lieutenant, you are free to go. I'm cleared. You are free to go, sir.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
So the next, thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda, presentation by Highway Patrol, Sergeant Pruitt.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's easier to come in person than it is on Zoom, right?
If you sit right here next to Mickey, then people online can see you.
Oh, they can.
Like, see my. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been out here. I just did some background and history. I was the CRP officer that was out here 10 years ago and longer. Yeah. And then promoted since, and it's been almost 7 years in this rank. So we had an officer that was out here all the time, and then like most agencies, we're having personnel and staffing issues. So we're trying to deal with that challenge and utilizing our officers more appropriately with the staffing that we have. So what we have been doing is just kind of handing out these complaints to the beat officers that are out here working. Unfortunately, it's not a dedicated officer. It could change from day to day and month to month. So they are targeting the areas that we're getting the most complaints. So the way that complaint process works is that, you know, one of the people call in or a citizen calls in and says, hey, there's parking on Apian, that there's trucks. So we'll log that complaint, and then we assign it or we put it in our complaint book. Then during briefing time, the officers can come up that are working that beat, locate where they're at, and then try to work that when they have time. So that's what we're doing to do it on a daily basis. When we do have staffing that's over our priority, I can take an officer and specifically say, hey, I want you to go and just write a bunch of parking tickets on Apian as an example.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and the highway patrol, the Contra Costa office is in Martinez. So that is, covers all the way from Discovery Bay, you know, clear out to, yeah, the whole county. So there's times when our staffing's fairly low and challenging to handle that, as well as calls of service, and then whatever comes up.
Yeah.
So we apologize as a department and as an area that we're doing what we can, and we're spread thin, and we're coming out here, and we by no means want to ignore any problem. I make an effort to talk to the complainant and ask them exactly what's going on, explain the situation, and then it's a process in which you may not see it out there on a daily basis, but you might just see it at all. But we are making efforts to get out there and handle the calls that we do get. And that's kind of it. I know the biggest challenge here in El Sobrante is the speed on San Pablo Down Road, both in the business district and then all the way through up to Bear Creek. So we do have enforcement. That's like our, you know, one of our top 10 complaints. So the officers all know that we're the West County. And then we do cooperate and work with the sheriff's department, helping each other out. And when we're out here, when we can, we have a couple units that work this west end all the time. Officer Leviste, who some of you met, he actually went to a day shift schedule, works best with his family, so he's not out here in the evenings anymore. But he still is involved with the West County. So a lot of times I'll tap his shoulder and have him kind of handle a specific complaint. And these complaints are all the way from, you know, to traffic under the parking to school zones, and then just think of all the school zones that are unincorporated area throughout the whole county. So all of the districts that we're dealing with.
And the freeway ramps.
Yeah.
I know Leviste
Yeah.
is really trying
Yeah.
to figure out how to police the freeway ramps.
Yes.
It's-
Yeah.
There's not a good place to hide.
Yeah. You know, and there's an uptick in traffic behavior that is just, it's
Crazy.
disrespectful. That people don't mind the speed limit signs, they don't mind each other, you know, it's a challenge. And just like being out on a crash and hearing the report of a fire engine getting hit, I mean, that's one of our biggest concerns, especially on a freeway where everybody's in a hurry, everybody's got to get where they're gonna go. So, you know, we're all in the same room, and we can share these stories with people that we talk to, but that's just it. You gotta drive and be safe. So that's kind of our main issue with the highway patrol, and I'm apologizing on behalf of the highway patrol. We haven't been here very often, as much as we can, or we'd like to, but you can always call our office and see about any progress or what complaints that you have, and definitely look into it.
Give us the number.
So our office area is 925-646-4980. That's our main office in Martinez.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then the other thing too with the jurisdiction, like you talked about Richmond, city limits up there. Yeah, sometimes you'll get called that bounce back and forth, and then eventually it does get handled, so. I don't want to say that the highway patrol just handles everything.
Thrown on them.
Yeah, well, you just, you know, I mean, we cover the whole state, right?
You guys are leftovers.
So,
You're in College Street.
no, and our dispatchers are good too, and,
They'll tell you where you are.
and just to give you an example too, like we have habitual calls, if there's a truck that's driving around that the entire bed of the truck is full of speakers. And as it's driving up Hilltop, I mean, it vibrates everywhere. So, yeah, it's trying to catch that and you gotta coordinate and then you get a crash out on the freeway and then you get, you know, a stolen vehicle report. So we're balancing all of these items. At some point, when our staffing does get better, because the highway patrol wants to hire 1,000 more officers, but you gotta distribute those statewide and, you know, I don't know how much of a bucket that's gonna fill up. But, yeah, but we are still there, I may not see us, but we're out there.
Okay, well, yes, number 2 on that to-do list in terms after Dam Road is Hilltop.
Okay.
You talked about the very disrespectful. I experienced that yesterday, and I so wish we had been able to visit that gentleman, because let's see, following too closely, speeding. I apparently wasn't going fast enough on Hilltop to get onto my street, so that's the part where there's the middle turn lane. He used that as a passing lane, and I see that on a regular basis as a passing lane, and then people coming in and out of the cemetery seem to think that it's a travel lane to get on. It's like, no, you have to actually, so. And of course, you know, there's speeding coming from the freeway because, you know, they're coming down Hilltop and to Richmond. They think, oh, wow, it's great. And so the speed limit is 35 there, so you should be doing 60. And as you get up the hill, the speed limit is 25 and you shouldn't be doing 50. And it happens a lot. So it's not as bad as Dam Road, but it has its own challenges, especially when you try to get on the Hilltop Drive. And where we are, coming, looking to the left, it's kind of hard to see because there's a dip in the road. It's like it dips down and dips up and you think it's clear. And then there's this vehicle coming at you, great rate speed, you do have to stop here. It's all right.
Yeah.
Run and get out before you get broadside. So that's all. But as always, as I've said to Chief Gage and Lieutenant Rodriguez, it's the same thing for you, Sergeant. We do appreciate the work that you do on our behalf and try to keep us safe and respond to our concerns, especially about Dam Road, because there was a lot about that. And you listen. And you know how we know it's not better? Because they're not here to meet.
Yeah.
No, seriously,
Yeah, it's
because
true.
they came to the meetings a lot and they're not coming to the meetings. So it must be a better situation.
Yes.
So
I think do we have any further questions from the?
Well, yeah, I've got a couple. So the CHP does not have any satellite offices. Everybody has to drive from the far outskirts to Martinez and then back and forth.
Yeah, our area office is Martinez. We don't have satellites. I know that's like, you know, sometimes our officers will go to a fire station or they'll go to the station in Pinole, not sorry, Pinole, in Rodeo, and they'll work on the report, so they're not having to respond from the office. So there are, if that's what you mean, we don't have a satellite office per se, so it's just an area where they can find time to work on their paperwork and then respond.
Your office is your vehicle,
Yeah, pretty much.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Whatever you're riding or in.
Yeah. Yeah, and the cars have access, you know, internet access modems, and they can download computer databases, they can access databases rather, and get the information they need.
And then, Pebble and Hilltop Drive, a lot of red light runners
Yeah,
up there, you know, to piggyback on what he had mentioned, you know.
yeah.
They have a tendency of being in too big of a hurry and they'll just blow right through Pebble and or La Paloma.
Mhm. La Paloma.
La Paloma.
Yeah, there are issues sometimes at the light in La Paloma, and there are occasional issues with stop sign at Pebble. For whatever reason, I just don't get it. It's like, what are you gaining? You're like 3 seconds is your commute? Wow. Putting people's lives in, it's crazy. As you said, disrespectful.
Yeah.
So do we have any, questions from our online participants?
I don't think we do, because remember we
I
had.
have one other question.
One other question.
I think you were at a report on Mitchell Way a week or so ago.
Probably not me, no.
I thought it might have recognized you.
Mitchell Way, no.
A neighbor had backed into a neighbor's car
Okay.
and it was on video, but nobody said anything. And so the neighbor whose car got hit ended up calling the CHP and the officer came out. And so I was curious. So would that be considered a hit and run?
Yeah, I mean, if they backed into it and didn't leave any information,
Yeah,
it's the minimum required, it is. Yeah, so they're probably investigating it as a hit and run.
Yeah, because he waited 4 days for them to come over and say, you know, I'm sorry, and so never did, and so he ended up
Okay,
calling the CHP and
yeah,
so.
and I'm gonna have to, I think we have to pursue. so-
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thanks.
So,
Well, we did have questions,
Yeah, I didn't-
that it wasn't all. It
I-
wasn't critical.
Yeah, I can send them any questions. that-
Yeah, you can send them that question. Can you send them, ask them if if the CHP is doing anything about their dispatching? Because the times of calling and getting through to their dispatch is, I mean, sometimes I've waited 20 minutes to get somebody on the line. I've literally followed somebody from Richmond to Emeryville before they picked up the phone.
so to just, move the meeting along, what I suggest is that if it's, Officer, Sergeant Crew is no longer here, send any questions by email to Edgar, and Edgar will forward them.
Okay.
Great, thank you. So, Edgar, we're now moving to the discussion items,
Mhm.
and I think John requested that we wait for him to get back before we discuss, up and under, second pitch. So why don't we move into the second item?
And they are here, they're on the call, that's Willett and Breckenridge. That's them,
Yeah.
there they are.
Okay, so this is a development plan to allow a non-substantial exterior change to existing residents for construction of new upper and lower decks with new posts and piers. Uses the same footprint of the existing decks. Increases the space. So why don't, Mr. Willett, Ms. Breckenridge, why don't you go ahead and present the project, maybe to introduce yourselves and we can discuss.
And say where it is,
Say where it is.
so that people who aren't looking at the thing know where it is.
Hello, board members. I'm Eric Willett. I'm here with my wife, Anna Breckenridge. We're the homeowners and the applicants, and our property is located at 5029 San Pablo Dam Road. We're Unit D in the Creekview condominium complex. And our replacement deck is an extension because we are not replacing a staircase that had originally come up from the concrete base. So we're extending that square footage by not having the staircase. So it ended up being an additional 93 feet because of additional floor space that would have been staircase in the past. And then also a balcony that is being extended to the width of the deck so that it will be able to use posts that come up as support from the sides rather than the supports that came from underneath the balcony. So it's more secure all around. It's the same footprint as before. There is no vegetation or trees that are in the way of the project or overhanging the project in any way. We're on the top of a creek and the nearest trees are at the base of the creek down below. Is there anything else? Happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Any questions about this project from the board, from the council?
Just had a comment, but as far as upgrading decking, I think that's a great idea.
I'm just gonna, it's kind of not the business, but I'm guessing it's a condo where it's an HOA and the HOA is cool with it.
Yes, we have sign off that we included with our permit application, a letter signed from our HOA approving the development.
All right, so, go ahead, Nick.
Hi, I'm your neighbor across the creek. And
Hello.
hi, and my only concern, and you addressed it, is that no trees or other vegetation is gonna be impacted, so have at it, good luck.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to move that,
We have a hand raised
Oh,
from Nate.
I think that wasn't related to this.
Oh, okay.
It may be.
Let's ask.
Yeah.
Nate, you have your hand up. Is this in relation to the discussion item that we're talking about now regarding the expansion of the deck? If you could unmute yourself, please. And then the crickets chirp. Okay. Maybe you can lower the hand.
Chris has, Chris has a question.
Chris has a question.
Yeah, hi, I'm also your neighbor across the creek from you. Nice meeting you. I just was trying to figure out, you're on the Dam Road side of the property, not the creek side though, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Mhm.
All right, so I'd like to, do we have any further questions, anything from the online?
I don't see any hands.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to give the max support to this project.
I'll second it this time.
Okay.
Yeah, doing it in seconds here. Ooh.
I'll take it third.
Pretty sure we have a unanimous vote,
Yeah.
so congratulations and best of luck on your project.
Yeah, it looks good. It's really good design. It looks very clever. So
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, board members. Thank you, neighbors.
thank you for coming to the
Thank you.
meeting.
Okay,
I text John, he said he'll be on shortly, so I think we should review the project and then as soon as John jumps on.
Does it matter that?
is Mr. Pervers on the call?
See him up there.
I'm wondering if he's Nate.
Nathan Trivers, hi.
Here's Nate.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, if you had a chance to look at the agenda, the, issues that are before us, there are 3 issues. There are actually 4 issues and a number of changes that were sought by the restaurant are no longer issued. These are trash and litter requirements, changing those, there's not going to be any change. Midnight closure of the establishment, maintaining a log of special events, prohibition of off premises alcohol sales, in other words, no sale for off-site consumption. So changes to these items are no longer part of the application. And so the issues that we will consider are 1, whether the number of special events per calendar year should continue to be limited. We are currently at the conditions of approval currently say 20, and the owner seeks to eliminate this condition. We can discuss that in just a second. The second is whether the conditions of operation should allow the restaurant to convert a portion of the existing parking area into a covered outdoor patio and dining area with alcohol service in that place for on-site consumption. So that's another thing we have to consider. Finally, well, not finally, the third item is they would like to operate a smoker. And the fourth item is, whether we continue to require, or the county continue to require that the exterior doors kept closed. And so those are currently closed during live music or when there are amplified sounds, but there are other times when the owner wants to be able to open the exterior doors.
John is on.
Okay,
And there's John.
and here's John. John, do you have anything you want to present prior to
I
our
just-
discussion?
So you have the memo that was prepared, right?
Yes.
So the process is that I think your input can be then summarized and provided to our planner on this, who could then the planner can use this in looking at whether to change conditions. I will offer a couple thoughts as you look at this. You know, one is this category of special events. So I want to be clear so that the compliance review that the county did last fall on the permit did identify what a special event is, and a special event is not a one of the sports related things. So I think the owner has the ability to do, you know, a Super Bowl party or those football related kinds of sporting events. Those don't count. What counts as a special event are these other things like trivia nights or fundraisers or things like that. And so the question of whether to limit them.
Or they get the restaurant, the whole restaurant rented by a private
Yes,
party.
or that. And one of the things I've heard, and so I want to reflect this because I want to reflect also what I've heard is that, you know, whether renting it out for a day, does that bring in a different crowd of people than who normally would go there? And is that an issue to be aware of? I realize that close proximity to homes means you have to look at appropriate limits. And I want to throw a couple things out because I'm on the air district, so I'm very aware of odor issues and that. And I know the owner, you know, wants to do, let's say, an outdoor barbecue or something like that. And, you know, we've gotten complaints from some individuals about that. And should they have authority to do that? A couple thoughts. You know, using propane instead of charcoal, while is different in the cooking, produces less odors. And there's also now electric barbecue. The technology is advanced. One of the things the county could do is limit the combustion that's used, so there's not all these odors. Instead of charcoal, it's propane, which has less of the smoke and emissions, and even less is electric. Now, again, cooks food differently. I get that, but you know, everything's a balance about how this is done. Does that provide flexibility, you know, to be able to protect the residents? The requirement of outdoor, the county did at the neighboring restaurant, the Los Cerros Mexican Grill, allowed them to have patio and a dining deck. The issue is maybe if that's done, I mean, that's a reasonable request, is do you limit the hours so it's not at night that impacts neighbors? You know, we've tried to accommodate outdoor seating and dining because of the pandemic and have that continue. The two issues are you know, how do you look at the noise issues from that? And then how do you look at making sure there's enough available parking? And as I say, there's always the ability to limit the hours of outdoor. You know, someone once said, you know, do you limit the outdoor activities until 8 o'clock and have no amplified sound, that kind of thing. So there's maybe, it's not yes or no, but you know, what are the kinds of conditions you think that provide flexibility to the owner to operate while providing some limitations to, and again, you're providing input. I will provide input after I get all of yours. I do think the outdoor cooking issue is, and I'm sure you'll hear from residents on this. I'll listen on what they say as well. The number of events, I will say, you know, I think it's not reasonable to ask the owner to send out a notice to people within 300 feet every time they do a trivia night. Maybe there's some general notice saying we're going to do this on occasion. I mean, to do a trivia night and say I have to send out a notice every week may be a bit overkill, but how do you address, what's the nature of a special event? Do you change the number and say, well, if he wants to do a trivia night once a week, that's more than 20, clearly, and that number can be different rather than totally remove it. You can have a higher number. So it's just about balancing some flexibility because it is close to neighbors with impact on neighbors. Should deliveries occur to certain parts of the restaurant and not others? And again, these are all things we can look at as well after you've provided your own comment on that. And just the last point is, so he is not requesting the permission to sell alcohol to be sold, to be taken off site like a liquor store. He already has the ability to serve alcohol on an outdoor table in the county's permit. Whether he needs an amendment of his state ABC permit, I don't know. He would know that. But the county, if he has outdoor seating, the permit to sell alcohol indoors does apply to the selling alcohol outdoors, I was informed by the planning department. So those are some general comments. I'll listen in and hear what you have to say as well.
Okay, so I suggest we just go item by item. And the first one is the number of events per calendar year. Maybe the owner can say how many he anticipates having.
Owner, if you'd be kind enough to turn on your camera so we can see you, please. Thank you.
Hey, Nate.
Thank you, sir. You're on.
No, you're muted.
You're still muted.
Yeah, turn your mic on. Please.
Or not.
Okay, I'm 100% here in the world.
Okay, so Nate, how many special events are you anticipating per year? And by special events, this is according to the definition of things like community meetings, Rotary Club, Chamber of Commerce, trivia nights, fundraisers. What are you thinking?
Well, and regarding the quiz night, it's going to be a once a week thing. So if that was 4, that's right out of the gate. That's 48 to 48 a year, right?
52.
Well, he's assuming a couple of nights off.
Okay.
Give or taking the calendar year and the world of the year and whatever's going on. But yes, I quite frankly don't have the thought of doing any big event, an annual event, unless it's something that's big enough that's good for the community. So I just kind of left it open-ended to be able to be used.
Could I ask the question, Nate, would it work for you if instead of 20, that it got raised to 52, so it's like no more than 1 a week?
Well, again, what are we talking about? Are we talking about?
So if you look at all of the special events, okay, so let's look at all of the times you would hold special events, that it would be no more than once per week.
And to be clear, that doesn't include your football parties. All your football parties isn't counted as a special event. When you have a football night or football day, that's not counted as a special event.
I'm just thinking as a resident, if it's only once a week, that doesn't seem so bad. If it's, I don't know how long it's gonna be or how many times, that seems.
Well, listen, I understand what, as a resident, as a local, as a 1 week or a 2 week or once a month. Here's the real dilemma between me and the county is just being clear on the, what does it mean? And I've had a lot of good help from the county to Tyrion, what means to have an event.
Yeah.
Well, I think they made that clear, which is the, any sort of sports event, a regularly programmed sports event, and you have a watch party hosted at your establishment, that's not considered to be a special event.
Correct. And I,
So we
you
can
know,
forget
this is,
about those. What we're thinking about are special, like, fundraisers, trivia nights, community meetings.
okay. Okay, so here's the dilemma I'm in. This is my interpretation or the county's interpretation or the public's interpretation.
It's
It's
the
a
county.
interpretation, that's what we're voting on.
The county is the only one who gets to vote on that. And we're trying to clear up that so that you're clear and the county.
Say that, I'm sorry, if I broke up, what did you say? What
The only
interpretation?
thing that matters is the county. All right, so that's the only interpretation that we need to worry about.
Yeah, if neighbors complain, the county can say, we agreed to this, and then they're done.
So what we're specific, at least what I'm specifically asking is excluding sports events where there's like a Super Bowl or Sweet 16 and, NCAA World Series, excluding those types of things which are considered to be part of your normal operation as a sports bar, and only considering things like trivia nights, fundraisers, stuff, community meetings. Would you be happy with 50 or 48 a year divided between all of those?
4 times a week times 12 months a year, I am perfectly okay with that.
That wasn't.
That doesn't, we're talking about once a week. It's once a week, so 50 a year, 40.
Yeah, well,
Typically proposed 52 a year, no more than 52 a year.
I proposed 53 a year.
53.
Okay,
Okay, once
Now-
a week plus one.
now, John, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I get it about the notices with special events, and as somebody who is pretty schooled in the difference between an activity of the business and a special event, because we had a lot of this in our planning process as well. Would proper notice, can you do like online notice without having to notify every single neighbor? Or do like monthly schedules?
Yeah, I mean, why don't you just suggest your ideas? I do, because I think it's unreasonable to say you got to do a mailing every
Yeah.
week to
But I think-
everybody within 300 feet, right?
Post it on your website, you're gonna provide like maybe a monthly schedule, at least a month in advance of when you're gonna do events, so people can look and know. That
That's
seems reasonable to me.
That's a great idea. I think, they have a website and they have the schedule of special events on the website.
And
And
yeah,
anybody who's
but
interested
just
can go to the
publish it.
website.
And I would assume that Nate's gonna do that anyway, just for marketing purposes, but, that way the public knows when there's gonna be an event or not.
Okay, Nate, I have a
So,
question about the special events. So do those change the operating hours to make them start earlier or end later than your normal operation?
Their operating hours are their operating hours. Events can't go past their operating hours.
All right, so it falls
They have
within
to
the.
fall within the operating hours, yeah.
So do you expect Nate, do you expect for a special event that more people would show up than would use your facility without a special event?
I think that's the whole.
well, to answer the question, whether it's I hope to God I have a lot more people show up for this event than my normal everyday event.
So I have a question. Is the issue here with the special events mostly surrounding parking and noise? Okay, so regarding parking, is there a way of having an arrangement with any local businesses nearby to be using their parking lots during those special events and letting the people know that they
Yes,
should be there.
yes. So just to back up a bit, the Up and Under second pitch really's focus is to be on its own personal business and opening and providing the product day to day to what the product needs. Do I want the ability to have an event, whether it takes up parking or this and that? I would love the ability to be able to do that. And I address that with the county at that time of what needs to be done. And regarding the parking, I'm so lucky enough to that Pat Prindiville, he owns the property next door that has about 20, I think it's about 6, 7, 8 or 9, 29 to 30 parking spaces that are available for me at any time with no discretion. Now, that doesn't mean there's not discretion from the neighborhood allowing people that live there, but indirectly, that gives me about 60 plus parking spots that are available to me for any kind of, I guess, quote unquote event or just a really good time. And then my parking spots are filled up, they could use those others parking spots also.
How would Los Cerros feel about you using those parking spots? Well,
I think he's just said that in agreement with that.
I would think maybe Los Cerros would feel differently.
Those are parking spots in the restaurant next door, plus the parking spots for that strip mall,
Yeah.
and all of that is around 60 something.
Are you asking me or
Yeah, so if you look at when you take into account your proposed outdoor patio and
if I was to have an event that needed overflow parking, Pat Prindiville has said it's okay that the rest of the mart will allow parking. And that is about almost 30 parking spots, including handicapped. And now you don't have to quote me on that because I would have to look at it, but it's about 30 spots.
okay, so there's 30 spots there. What about that little the strip mall that includes Los Cerros? That's what, an additional how many spots?
That's what you're talking about. That's Bristol's place.
So
Partners only, yes.
So there's not too much overflow parking for special events onto the streets, is that right?
Correct. Well, if people can park there and it doesn't affect Los Cerros and the owner's okay with it, well, then people won't park on Sprante Avenue, which is what they were complaining about.
By the way, I forgot to mention, you should take public comment before you make final decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't, listen, guys, this event thing is a really sideways topic. I mean, I just want to have pub quiz every Tuesday night and be able to support my local school that needs a fundraiser, because we all know it's about the more money, the more things we can do. And especially if I'm as a small business trying to support a local school, then in my mind, I would like to do a fundraiser every day of the week. Now we're in this position of figuring out what does an event mean. This thing is at a whole nother level of
Clear.
meaning.
Let me just help you, Nate. So there's a word called activity, and the word activity of the business is different than an event. Now, it sounds like the planning department has told you that, and I disagree with this, that sports events or activities, I personally think a trivia night is an activity as well.
Yeah.
And that when you do a fundraiser, and that's a thing you don't normally do, that would be a special event. That's my opinion, but I'm not the planning department. Heaven knows I am not the planning department. And they are the final, they have more power than anybody except God. So, I think, you know, you could argue about the trivia nights, and I think I would say it's not an event, it's an activity. Something we do every Tuesday night. That's what I would do. And I don't know if John, you all can help with that, but I would learn to just distinguish between what's an activity of the business and what's an event. That's my opinion.
In reading this, the special events defined, it says specifically in here, an event is an occasion that is advertised to the general public or a specific group of people, and that would likely result in an increased patronage of the facility during the identified time period. Well, therefore, if you are saying, hey, we're gonna have a trivia event every week, that's going out to the public. That's an event.
So the Super Bowl.
No, it's not. A Super Bowl party is not an event. Everybody has Super Bowl parties. It's not an event to have a Super Bowl party at a pub. Everybody has a Super Bowl party. So that's what this says in here. Just reading what it says.
It's like people are gonna go to Lucky's before Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So in terms of making this workable for Nate, because I love the idea of having a place where we can have a birthday party without having to clean up.
And I would
we
challenge you to a trivia night any night.
You will lose. So I think trivia nights, if those have to be called events, that's 50 something. But let's put some squish in there, because otherwise all he can do is the trivia nights, and that doesn't meet what he's trying to do for the community.
What if we said
So
70?
How about if we said 70?
So,
Because I know unlimited is not.
I mean,
gonna fly in the
no.
planning department.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, what we need to be thinking about here is, you know, the business is doing some things that bring in more customers.
Right.
You expect them to do that. And some of these things support the community. And so the question is, if the patronage of the place increases, will it exceed the local parking capacity so that there's a lot of overflow parking and noise and smoker smoke that unduly affect the community? And where is the limit?
Maybe there needs to be a limit on how much barbecuing goes on rather than, I mean, there's already limits on how late stuff can go. But if I'm hearing what Nate is wanting to do for our community, it does seem that 70 is a reasonable amount, because that would include the trivia nights and it would give about 20 events per year that would be something else. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? What do we think?
I think what you may have to do is talk about the kind of events. When you say 70, I don't think you mean that that there's going to be an outdoor event 70 times with hundreds of people, right? You could, and I don't think that's what Nate's intending, but you have to make sure, and the planning department needs to make sure it's, when you're doing that, it's not like 70 events where there's a flea market going on every weekend. I'm just picking things that, right?
That the trivia night's an activity because it's gonna be every Tuesday night. But I get your point, but let's just fold that in, and then there'll be 20 things that are different than that.
What you could say is you could specifically say trivia nights, this number of trivia nights, and then this number of other special events. If you say 70 special events, let's assume there's 70 things or 50 things that are not trivia nights. That may not be what Nate intends, but there could be a different owner in the future, right? I mean, these apply to anybody. And that may not be what you all want. So if you want to carve out and say, hey, we know he wants to do a trivia night once a week, and we're fine with that, plus how many other special events in addition to the trivia nights? I'm just saying that's one way to think about it.
And is it possible, could you tell us, John, is it possible if it turns out to become an increasing problem for the neighbors as business booms, Vinay?
There could be reviews, yeah, but yes, there can be reviews. I do think if you consider trivia nights something less impactful, which it probably is, remember the county can change the wording of all this. you can say, hey, we accept a weekly trivia night plus X number of other special events.
Okay,
So-
let's say like that.
So it seems to me like trivia nights probably won't involve like a huge number of people.
I think
coming
it's
to
gonna
the
be
facility.
10 or 15 geeky people having a really good
Right,
time.
but then there would be a difference between that and let's say an event where invitations are sent out to 100.
Trivia night might take up 4 parking spots, and if they take 4 parking spots, I'm over the moon and everybody's getting paid.
I was just wondering if there is a special event and you need a lot more parking, and could you be making arrangements with other businesses a little further away, like the Moose Lodge or something like that? Where they have parking lot.
Isn't that not there? I was gonna say, that 10 Martin, if we ever get open, God love it, please pray for the building inspector Greg Eastman, that he will finally release and start inspecting our building again. He can use our parking lot, but God knows when we're open. But God knows when we're open. John, get on it, get that place open.
I'm just wondering if there's another place a little further away.
But our place eventually would be very convenient. I don't think that-
Well, I mean, so what might be useful is for, so for those cases where there's going to be a lot of people coming in, where there's overflow, maybe people will be able to park in Nerds or one of the service stations or the school or something like that. So if you can make those arrangements so that the overflow doesn't impact the neighbors, that would be great.
And I bet Nate would be delighted to do that at the end of this business.
Okay, I have Nate. We have a baseline possibly for these things, because I'm guessing you do the same type of thing at the restaurant in the Point, am I right? You have events, trivia, things like that. It's different there because that's a larger area and there's a lot more parking on Washington and all around there, but you do that type of thing at the original Up and Under, am I correct?
We have had pub quiz every Tuesday since we opened in January 2010, every Tuesday.
The answer
And
is, the follow-up question is roughly how many people do you get at that pub quiz? Every
well,
week.
we get the same wonderful folks that tag in for pub quiz, and it's probably, I don't mean to be rude because it's been 13 years and our clientele is a little bit older, so the clientele has diminished over the years. But I would say anywhere from 20 to 32 people, and over the last 10 years, it's diminished, unfortunately.
So it's roughly 20 people, and there are more people over there or in that area than there are in a city.
Yeah, I mean,
so what I'm trying to get at is to give something, a sense of a scope of what the number of people you might get for like the quiz event here, as opposed to the Point.
no,
You
I
know?
think you're doing a good job. And the only difference between this scope and the scope you're talking about is that I want to work harder to make that scope more, but right now it's very small.
Okay, and just to follow up, because we're talking about potential other things like live music, which that is a small venue for live music. The one in Point Richmond, it's small, there's not much room there, so you probably get the same number of people there. It's not a very large restaurant, it gets filled up with maybe 50 people tops.
Yeah, the wonderful thing between Point Richmond and that location, it's very similar on the numbers that we're talking about.
Okay. Thank you for that.
So
you're welcome.
What I'd like to do is this, I think we've kind of great suggestions, we've sort of honed down on saying, okay, the Tuesday trivia nights are cool, and then another
Plus
maybe
another 20 events.
plus another 20 events per year. And
That's a little generous, but.
well, that's where we are now, and we can make that recommendation, but first, with respect to this, we want to hear from the neighbors so that John can get the.
Why don't you just open up the whole thing to the neighbors and then go back and finish your discussion? You don't have to open it on every item. Just open it to the neighbors to make general comments and then finish your discussion. Right.
And I know that there are people speaking in the chat on this. So
Okay.
those people online who want to speak too.
So then, so should we just continue our discussion then on item 2 and then once we,
I want to hear from the neighbors.
all right.
Yeah, let's, they're being very patient. We've had a lengthy discussion just on this item
Okay,
itself, so we want them to be able to participate before they get tired and say, I'm done and want to go to sleep. So, Edgar, what are people,
well, we have people here.
I understand that, but we also have stuff in the chat just to read it, that's all. And
Well, why don't we listen to the people here first, and then we can go to the online. That's what we've been doing.
All right.
All right, so folks here in the audience, you've heard the discussion so far. Maybe you can weigh in about having a trivia nights plus 20 additional special events. What are the concerns about that?
There's the chat.
We have the chat, and actually the last thing in the chat was about this, so, okay.
I'll let you know.
I would say that 20 is not that much. It sounds like a lot, but when you think about 20, it's less than 2 per month. Yeah, and 24 would be 2 more events per month. Trivia night, let's say Trivia night's Thursday night. He's only adding technically 1 or 2 events involving schools, community people, whatever that big category holds. Only 2 more times the entire 31 days available. So just be mindful of that.
Okay,
So I'm with you guys on like the trivia nights or like a paint night. Those types of crowds are more chilled, tend to be more respectful. So yes, and I don't think that that's an issue. And I'm with you guys on that, and that's fine. The other events I feel are what is a big concern because it's a big other as far as who can come. I'm sure you guys are all aware of the issues that happened at the events of the previous establishment, and that's where things kind of always went off the rail. Is the more people you open this up to, the more question there is on who's going to come and what's going to happen. So that's just where I am on that. The outdoor area, I think there should be a time limit before the closing of the place that happens, because can you guys imagine living next door and you trying to bathe your kid to put him down to bed and you've got people, out there hooting and hollering and whatever. So I just think, maybe keep that in mind. And then the outdoor events, as far as amplified sound, is really, that sound not only is amplified, but it's amplified in that valley. So
Yeah.
I think it's a small place. I think anything amplified should stay inside. And the smoker is a huge issue because, I thought the whole thing was on fire. When I came around and I went to turn up my street and I saw this smoke, I was like, holy heck. And it's because it sits in there. It sits between the hill on Valley View and the hill on the other side. It just sits. It doesn't dissipate. So
where is it exactly, the smoker?
his smoker's in the parking lot is where he wants to put it.
Parking lot.
But as far as the location of the business, it doesn't go anywhere. And it blows smokes out the whole neighborhood. And for the parking, the first event that Nate had, wasn't really an event, it was a crowd that had come for a sports event. I called Nate and I said, maybe you can put up some signs that say overflow parking here or no customer parking on Sabrani Ave. Maybe they'll listen, maybe they won't, but it's a $50 cost to give it a try. And that's the kind of thing that I wish Nate would realize, that if you want to be a good neighbor, it's little things like that that could make people go, hey, he's trying to be a good neighbor. But they have never seemed to happen. And the other thing that really hasn't been brought up yet, but would be a good gesture of goodwill, is having deliveries on Valley View and not on Sabrani Ave, because Sabrani Ave is a residential street. We get big rigs that try to turn around doing 27-point turns because it's not a commercial street. And all that would take is a simple call to say, hey, vendors, you know, come around the backside and deliver on Valley View. Don't deliver on Sabrani Ave. And it's just, again, little things like that that would go, hey, he really does, he is trying. But again, they just haven't happened. And I will end with this to say that Nate is doing all of this from Oregon. Nate is not here running this. So I wish that the people that are running it would attend these things and would address the concerns of the neighbors, because they're the people that are letting the customers stay in the parking lot and hang out at their cars. You know, things like that need to be monitored. And we can tell Nate until we're blue in the face, but Nate's not here. He's not even in the state. So I think it needs to be mandatory that if Nate's appearing at these things, whoever he has running the place needs to be appearing as well, because they need to be accountable for what's going on, because they're the ones that are actually pulling the string. That's my piece for now.
What is the occupancy of that establishment? How many people are allowed in the building or in the proposed parklet or patio that they're planning on putting in?
Well, it's an existing parklet. I don't know what his occupancy is. Nate, what's your occupancy?
I'm sorry, what's the question? My occupancy, and that is my occupancy. That's a good question.
Air Marshal must have. Wait, what do you mean? That's a good question. It should.
He doesn't know.
Well, no, I think he should. It's his business, and even if he's running it from afar, he should have an idea of what the occupancy.
100 people, 50 people.
Because that's important, because it ties into the traffic and the number of cars and everything. And Nate, I think if you are out of state, as we've been told, I think it would be appropriate if you would provide for us the name of the local person, the contact name, telephone number, email, so that we have a local point of contact who we can talk to about these issues, especially the bit about deliveries, because it's just common sense that the folks should be delivering on Valley View, because that's an actual really nice wide street. You know?
Except they come off of 80. I know exactly how this goes with a truck. And they don't know where they can turn around, because there's nowhere to turn around here. And they don't know how to go around the triangle to come back the other way. It is really hard to get to his Valley View entrance unless you're coming from the other way. So I do get how that happens with the truck driver.
Fair enough, but you know, the common sense, even if you're driving a truck. And
Trust me, there's no common sense in a truck driver.
Okay, well, I would hope that there would be a little bit, just looking at the roads themselves, you can figure out which one would be the best for delivery.
You usually get the same delivery.
I think we should bring it back. Yeah, I think we should bring it back and provide a recommendation if there's a comment to an approval or not. Because we're running out of time, so I think we should.
If the
all I
MAC would
will
like
say
me
to follow the Brown
respond,
Act
let me know.
is you want to make sure you hear from all the speakers before you make a final decision under the Brown Act.
So-
And there's at least
Right.
one who wants to speak.
Okay, we got one here.
Go ahead, please.
So if it's me that's speaking, then I would just say that, you know, we used to live in Hampton. I always like the sound of people having dinner out on the street in the evening and so forth. And to me, it was part of a nice sound. I understand that, you know, the group can get loud and so forth, but the idea of having an outdoor eating venue, I think it adds a nice atmosphere to a business district of a town, when it sounds like there's people there having a good time. As far as the smoke is concerned, that's the other thing that is of concern to me. I know that the idea of using propane or something like that is suggested by Supervisor Joya. Sounds like a workable alternative. I know also that a lot of the reason that you're using the smoker is because the smoke, the effect it has on the taste of the food and so forth. So it won't accomplish that. I do think that I know that in terms of ashtrays, they have little systems with a little fan that sucks smoke out and controls it. And so it might be possible there's some sort of a mitigation that can be done on a bigger scale.
There's closed smokers too.
Yeah.
And they actually smoke it even more.
Okay, well, anyway, but that's something that, even though I love to walk down the street and smell somebody smoking going and the great food, I also would not want to live next to that. And so, yeah, I think that mitigating that some way, whether it's a closed smoker, whether there's a fan system, whether it's gas, I think that would be the thing that I'd be most concerned about. But I like the idea about having someplace where people can sit outside at night and go over and talk to their friends. It sounds wonderful to me.
I mean, it seems like the major noise effect wouldn't so much be the talking, it would be music. And as long as the music is done indoors with the doors closed, that would tend to mitigate that.
And noise goes up with the alcohol.
And in terms of the outside people hanging out afterwards carousing, that's something you'd call the sheriff's department for, right?
Right, but
So that wouldn't be.
Oh, it happens during hours.
During that.
Yeah.
with this business in here,
Yes. And they were open.
So we have a hand in the chat. Just for process, we need to be sure we hear back.
Yeah.
Do you like to call that?
Pat, go ahead.
Hi, this is Pat Prindiville. I actually own the property. And we keep talking about the trucks coming in to the Sobrani side for deliveries. Of course, we don't want that, but I mentioned it last couple of meetings. What keeps the county, when I've mentioned it, from putting signs on the corner that says no commercial vehicles?
Well, that sounds like a great solution for Sprante Avenue in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That might solve several problems.
so.
Well, let me make sure I understand this request, because when you say no commercial vehicles, Pat, you mean parking or on driving through there?
No, they drive up like the big beer trucks, drive up Sobrani Avenue and turn into the parking lot. And then they're having to turn around and go back to Valley View, and they're blocking the traffic. Those commercial vehicles, there's no commercial properties, as far as I know, past our parking lot.
Well,
One of the things we've learned is the county can prevent commercial vehicles of above a certain size on residential streets as through traffic, but can't prevent them from local deliveries. If there's alternative places if they can go on Valley View instead of, and I have to check out the circulation there. If a vehicle drives through Sobrante to get from one place to another location somewhere else, they can't stop that. They can say they can work with the property owner to say deliveries on Valley View. If that's the goal, again, I don't know how that affects turning, but it could provide for deliveries to be into this facility to be to only be at a certain entrance. It can do that.
How can you do that, John? I don't understand. Could you put signage there? Can the county put signage there?
Let me just look up the roadway here. Because actually
across the street from us.
I'm just looking up the roadway here. I'm just trying to get this straight. You're saying, like, I'm looking here on Sobrante. Right now, if a vehicle is driving from Appian Way to Valley View, it's going to go along Sobrante. You're not trying to stop that. You're trying to start. What are you trying to stop again? The loading into
the parking lot.
Into that parking lot.
Turning off of Sobrante, trying to turn off of Sobrante Avenue behind Champions to get to the up and under second pitch.
From Valley.
That's what they're trying to avoid.
From Sobrante Ave at Valley View. No commercial traffic up Sobrante Ave at that point.
So would it be possible to have a sign that says no more than a certain number of wheels on a vehicle going up Sobrante Ave? That might allow for like Amazon vans.
What about through trucks? I'm not talking about stopping there, but through trucks. There's gonna be through trucks, correct?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point because, yeah, what about all the Amazon now, the thousands of Amazon and FedEx?
Amazon vans don't count, they're vans.
Yeah, I'm thinking big panel trucks.
I'm trying to look here at a map to try, I think it's gonna involve looking at, what you're saying, rather than figure out how to do it, you're saying to limit deliveries to Valley View. Is that what you're saying?
That's what the surrounding neighbors would like, so that they're not blocking, turning in and backing out and trying to get these big trucks out.
I always leave it up to the traffic engineers to figure out how to do that. But
Okay.
I hear what you're saying. You're saying limit deliveries to Valley View, no deliveries on Sobrante. And I think the traffic engineer is gonna have to go out there and figure out how that would get done. I'm not an expert. The traffic engineer would figure this out.
Perfect.
We maybe collect our thoughts and come up with some recommendations.
Yeah.
This would be a good point. So,
I think Matt want to speak or just be in the chat?
No, I just spoke. Thank you.
No, Matt Purdy.
Oh, Matt, I'm sorry. Thank you, everybody.
Matt, do you want to speak?
Yeah, back again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Back again to a couple things. The big 18-wheelers trying to deliver beer on Sobrante Avenue. And having lived on Sobrante Avenue for years and years, there is nothing up Sobrante Avenue that takes an 18-wheeler coming and going, and there's no place to go. Once in a while, there's some construction up there that has some heavier dump trucks, but there's just basically a sewer company up there with their backhoe and their dump trucks. Is all the commercial stuff there is. Amazon trucks can be annoying, but they're there. UPS, FedEx, all those guys. But the real thing, noise, the smoke, that outside grill, like I said in the last meeting, that's a coal furnace from the 1950s. It forces us to close our windows and retch.
Okay.
And that is it's just not acceptable. And I've, put some notes. It's not that difficult to turn from Valley View into the parking area there, but behind, up and under, even for a big rig, it's past the islands, and, into the turn lane. So deliveries on Sobrante Avenue, I don't see how there's any excuse for. But please stop the smoke and keep the conditions as much as possible to what they were initially allowed for noise and closures and action in the parking lot and so forth. And no bounce houses again, please.
can you run that by us again? No bounce houses?
No bounce houses. Those inflatable things that kids bumping down in and make a lot of noise.
In the lows 20%, right there on the homes. They're fun, but if you're not enjoying it.
So maybe this would be a good time to sort of collect our thoughts about the recommendations. And so that we can.
Did we have other, can we bring up other numbers?
Yeah.
I'm not particularly confident that what we're.
I'm not throwing monkeys into the.
Well, I think.
Just remember, we're advisory.
Yeah.
So the planning department is going to say yes or say no, and ultimately John and his colleagues will vote on this.
Because I think we covered, essentially some of the noise issues associated with the doors and music. We just talked about the smoker. We talked about the outside parking area. And
I didn't hear your direction on the smoker. What were you saying?
Well,
it sounds like we need to ask them to change their smoker.
to either the two things you recommended, or John, there's also a third version of a really good smoker that is smokeless. Basically, it's sort of like a rocket stove. And so there is a third option, but a smokeless smoker. Or a smokeless.
But I'm thinking that we probably aren't experts on smokers here.
No, I'm
So-
not.
But this would be my suggestion, that the smoker as it currently is does not work for the community. It's really bothering the neighbors. So what he needs to do is propose a technology that will significantly reduce the amount of smoke.
Yes.
And if that means buying a new smoker, so be it.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing about the parklet. Number two, COVID's still here. And there are people who don't want to eat indoors.
Yeah.
So I think it would be nice to give them the option to spend their money and have a nice meal out and not have to worry about being in an enclosed space and potentially getting sick. So I think that's a good thing. The smoker is a problem because it's a smoker and it's like, that's just not good for anybody. And the doors thing, I mean, I think keep them closed as much as possible, because what do you need to open them for?
Well, when you get 104 here, and also.
They think they might have an AC inside.
And that's.
So if we're okay. Please, if we're okay with the parking. And having a parklet in the parking area. Then the issue that comes up with the community is, at some point, there's gonna be overflow parking. And we need to ask that the business owner take into account how to fix that by either securing parking spaces in some of these other businesses.
And enforcing
With
no
the-
parking on El Sobrante for his customers.
And finding out who his local person is, who's in charge of the
Yes.
event, because I think there's a bit of a lack of communication here between Mr. Nate and whoever is running the spot.
And his managers.
Yeah, there's a lack of communication there, and it's not being, people aren't being heard as they should. So that's part of it too. So what was the thought on the special events part now?
So I think we're still considering doing 70. So, we're okay with the trivia nights every week or the
Yeah.
weekly events plus 20 additional special events.
However,
However, we need to control the parking.
however, I do think we need to make it clear that it can't go from 70 that include 50 trivia nights and 20 other, and it doesn't end up being 70 special events.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, that's why I said 52 trivia nights. And I would suggest maybe a smaller number that we revisit if he proves himself a good neighbor.
Right, we can revisit it.
What would you say, 10?
Yeah, it's like 8 or 10.
I'm still at 20, because it's much easier to cut it back than for him to come through. How many months he's been trying to get.
Well, I understand that, but it hasn't been too clear his direction that he wanted to change.
Well, a horrifying process.
He's not.
That I don't.
Horrible.
Is it? Maybe we should have a comment on that.
I have no comment.
Think, yeah, Nate.
Nate is, I don't see Nate there. anymore,
He,
but
he,
Nate-
he emailed me and said he has to pick up his son and needs to leave.
Okay, I think we really need to come up with a recommendation.
Yeah, can I just say one other thing? Is Pat the representative now?
No, Pat is the owner of the property, but he has nothing to do with the business.
Okay, so if Nate can't hear this, then forget it. Go ahead.
So what I'm gonna do is just gather the recommendations so that we
I think
can.
we were doing that. We were going
Yeah.
through each one of these things. I think everybody's fine with the parklet.
Okay, well,
Yes.
let me just go and
Well,
put
then
this.
go.
out.
Yeah, Tom's gonna be writing this, so he's gotta get it straight in his mind.
All right, so a trivia night or equivalent every week.
I'm equivalent.
Wait, a
Trivia nights
trivia, but it could
plus.
be an art night or something like that.
I think
It's
we
just
need
a-
to separate them.
I think we're saying the regular weekly trivia night plus up to 20 other events per year.
So,
That's what I
so
would.
we'll say weekly trivia night, good. And then, Tom, I know you think this is generous, 20 additional special events. So that
Up
takes
to.
up to 20, no more than that. So it isn't gonna be 50 plus 50.
Right.
It's 50 plus 20.
Right. And they may
Okay,
not even do weekly trivia nights. They may not work after.
all right. So let's go to the next issue. The next issue
But you
is.
can't compare those over to
Yeah,
spend.
all right, please, the next issue is, the parklet in the parking lot. We're okay with
I
that.
think, yeah, I think everyone knows.
All right.
What's
Business hours. Fine, this would be his business hours.
So you have to close at 8.
There's no music.
I think business hours are longer than 8. 8 would be ideal, I would say, for outdoor dining, but I think it's business hours, you say over, I think the business hours are longer than 8.
Sadly, we don't know.
I'm trying to take notes. I couldn't hear what you said. What did you say?
You know what is business
What are
hours?
his
Are
business
business hours till midnight or till?
No.
The
No,
business hours are till midnight, but you can limit the outdoor to an earlier time.
so let's limit the outdoor till 8. Does that sound reasonable, 8 or 9?
9 is summer.
Yeah.
Okay. But no one's gonna wanna sit outside anyway.
No.
But I mean, it just, so what we can say is out. So we'll allow for the parklet operates until 9.
I'm
Alright.
sorry, I got cut off. What did you limit it to?
9 PM.
And that's their normal business
Please
hours.
make it 8.
Which is his current normal business hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So parklet until 9 PM.
And no amplified sound outside.
Yes, and any music stays inside, doors closed.
Yeah.
All right,
Any speaker system, I don't know how he does his.
Yeah.
Waitress and all that, but.
no sound outside.
Are you saying no music or no amplified music outdoors?
Sound outside.
No amplified sound outside.
Oh, so could be.
Oh, Nate back, let Nate in.
And are you saying this outdoor seating, are you proposing different times during the week versus Friday and Saturday nights?
No, just business.
Right now, we're just proposing his business hours. Can we say-
No, but I thought you said you're limiting outdoor seating until 9.
John, it's 9 PM across the board.
Got it, okay.
All right, so we've got the parklet till 9 PM. So the other issue is the smoker. The smoker, the existing smoker is a no-go. Please, we need to admit Nate. Oh, yeah.
Is he?
I don't see him.
I admitted. It's on the top. Yeah, I already admitted it. All right, so the next issue is the smoker. The existing smoker and the amount of smoke it produces doesn't work for people. They have to invest in a new technology.
In a smokeless grill.
Oh, I don't think we can dictate to them
No,
what
but we
type.
can say it has to be smokeless. He can do it however he wants it. It just can't create smoke.
Are the propanes like smoke?
Well,
Pretty much.
I think we're just saying smoke is bad, period.
That's right.
That's.
Well, there's gonna be a little.
Also, smoke outside.
Hi, team. Sorry, I disappeared.
Okay, Dave.
Hi, I don't know if I'm chiming in at a wrong time or not, but hi.
So we need to reduce the amount of smoke or
Yeah.
completely eliminate it.
Yeah.
So you need, Nate will need to have a smokeless smoker.
Or a smokeless grill or.
Something that doesn't vent smoke to the outside in large quantities.
Okay, so for the committee, sorry, I chimed in. My smoker, if I'm religiously using the smoker, it's probably being used for 3 hours a week if we're using it for that week.
The neighbors are absolutely adamant that it smells like London in the 50s. So that's literally what they said.
We're
So I
LA.
Guessing you need a different.
Okay,
Equipment.
okay,
It's not a
okay,
matter of how
well,
much, it's the thing itself.
Yeah.
sounds good. I mean, if that was the description of it, sounds good. Very
So like an electric, gas, smokeless smoker. No charcoal.
Okay, okay.
Another
Now,
thing.
I missed,
The closed system.
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but did the pizza oven come into that conversation? Did I miss that part?
Nobody complained about the pizza oven.
Wait, what is the pizza?
Nobody,
Smoke?
No,
It's pizza oven. Doesn't produce.
Is it,
It's
oh good God, let's not add a new issue.
Well, it depends on what kind of pizza oven it is.
It's not, he does not have a wood
No electric
burning,
one?
he does
if
not have.
it's a,
All right, what kind of pizza oven do you have? Does your pizza oven produce smoke?
Welcome to Hillsborough.
Okay,
you know, everything I do in that restaurant produces smoke. So regardless of, you know, to separate the smoker, but I produce smoke and things all
Nate's
day,
not doing
every
it.
day.
You know you're not doing it. You're in Oregon. Your people are doing it and you're not here.
No. Time. Excuse me, I'm in Oregon, I live there, like the other lady talking about, he's in Oregon, like, I don't care, I don't know what's going on. It's so bizarre to me, and I don't even know why it's even the equation of the conversation, because like
so
any
what we need is
business.
a contact, like a contact for a manager. Your facility, so
I
that we,
would love to finish, but go ahead.
yeah, we need to have a contact number for your site manager here so that when there are issues that come up, people can get them dealt with promptly.
No problem. You'll have multiple phone numbers to deal with locally, and I will be a part of every number that you will locally be a part of on any situation. Doesn't matter where I'm at in the county, country, or the world. We are connected, and we only worry about what is happening at that moment.
All right, thank you. So what we want is a new smoker that isn't going to produce wafts of smoke, smokeless smoker, and the same goes for the pizza oven. We don't want to bother the neighbors with that either.
No problem. That's well, I shouldn't say no problem because that problem.
There's one other issue that I think needs to be handled from the point of view of the neighbors, and that is customer parking on places like Sobrante Avenue, which really affect, you know, the neighbor's ability to get in and out of their home. And there was
I don't think we have any of those issues, and I don't mean to be arrogantly saying that. And I will be aggressively attacking our vendors to make sure that nobody will come to that avenue to drop off any goods that is needed.
All right, and then the other is customer parking. So we don't want customer parking on Sobrante.
Signs up.
What we would like you to be able to do is when you have a lot of people come in, when you have these really big events, to secure other parking nearby in like local businesses, so you don't get overflow parking on streets where the neighbors live.
Sounds wonderful. I'll do whatever you need to do. And as a local business, that hopefully is extremely successful, that I would need to go into these needs. Whatever needs that you would like me to do, I am more complacent and would love to do whatever you need to do to make the neighborhood happy and
Okay.
compliant.
Nikki has a.
I have a suggestion to make some of your neighbors happy is to really monitor the litter that's around the block as well. And I see that was part of number 5, but there's often a lot of litter around that area. And if you could take responsibility for cleaning that up and across the street as well, where people take things and throw things, that would make a lot of neighbors happier.
Well, I agree with you 100%, and I would love to embrace any litter removal complaint that's happened in the last 36 months of me being there
Okay.
previously. Moving forward, I pride myself on a clean business. So I don't care about the condition on me for that, because that's something that I do day to day throughout business. And
Thank you.
so I love El Sobrante, and I love, geez, nobody wants trash anywhere on the street. So give me more trash conditions. I will embrace them and make them happen. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we can take a vote now. So we know what the four
Yeah.
conditions
Yeah.
are. Do we approve?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We have a recommendation, John.
so we have, so.
Yeah, I've taken notes. I'm gonna send my notes to Tom. Tom will have his own notes, and Tom will write a letter to planning and copy us.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank
Okay, well, what I'll do is copy Edgar, and Edgar will distribute.
Yes.
You guys, so we
Yes.
don't play law
Yes,
and-
you can get it to us. You can get it to us. You can put it in a letter form, and I've just taken notes and I'm sending it to you, Tom.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great.
So now we really need to power through the other things. Any information reports by MAC members?
Are you doing a motion and a second and a vote, just so it's in the minutes?
We just did, we just
We
voted
voted unanimously.
Okay.
for the four recommendations.
I
And,
suppose we should put a motion in a second, right? Yeah.
Uh,
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay.
okay,
We both. We're unanimous.
subcommittee report.
Okay. All right, keep that subcommittee report. Next third Saturday cleanup is March 18th, and we are this cleanup is an official part of Clean California's initiative to clean up the state. So we're going to be participating in that on March 18th, and everybody's invited 10 to 12 at the library as usual. But we are an official, signed up as official part of Clean California. The other thing I want to say is that you're all invited to our subcommittee meeting that's scheduled for Tuesday, Tuesday, March 14th. Okay. Here in person at 7 o'clock, and there you have an opportunity to attend on Zoom.
No, I don't.
Oh, you
I'm
don't? Okay, so you have to be here, but other people can as well. And I guess there will be a notice about that. And the other thing is that we are gearing up for Earth Day, so mark your calendars. For Earth Day, we have a new flyer on April 22nd. You're all invited. We have a cleanup, major cleanup all around town from 9:30 to noon. And then we're gonna have a program in the afternoon. It's all staged from here at the library, although the cleanups will be the streets and creeks all over the 94803 area. But I'm very excited about the program here because we are partnering with Spawners and also with SOS Richmond and also with Supervisor Joya and the library. And the library is getting more involved this time. They're going to make some book displays relevant to Earth Day for all ages. They're going to have an origami art installation that they're unveiling that day as well. And we're gonna have we're gonna have speakers, different info tables. We're looking for sponsors if more people want them.
We're getting the electric bikes from
Yes.
Peddler.
We're gonna have that electric cars and bike demonstration for Earth Day and children's activity led by,
Cleaned up El Sobrante, and then we'll be producing a whole lot of trash.
yeah, we're gonna have a dumpster for that, for this.
For the children's artwork.
I was gonna say, you heard the transitions are.
That's right. No, so mark your calendars, April 22nd. Look for flyers around town and we'll make some more available for people to pass out to their organizations, their schools, or whoever.
Some extras for that.
Yeah, this was just something we ran on our house today, but we're gonna get you, Edgar's gonna be running up a lot more, so we'll have it available to set out at businesses in different places as well. Did I miss anything? No.
Nope.
Okay, so that's it for my report.
Thank you.
Would anybody like to make a long-winded report on nothing much?
All right. So agenda items, so for the next, thank you, Nikki. So for the next agenda item speaker for upcoming MAC meetings, we have Edmund on.
Did I did mention that we're having a meeting, but I didn't say it was the cleanup and beautification subcommittee meeting next Tuesday here at 7 o'clock. And we're gonna have prior to that, some people who are in this room and other people you're invited if you're interested in helping with the planning for the Earth Day at 6 o'clock here. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so agenda items, speakers for upcoming SMAP meetings. We have Edmund of the Edmund budget and rate presentation on May 10th. And Edgar, I forwarded you an email from Matt Spears about potentially including a discussion of the noise ordinance.
Okay.
And I was hoping maybe we could put that on for next month.
Yes.
All right.
And the county library, El Sobrano Library would like to present sometime, hopefully next month, if that's okay with everyone. But
Sure.
I'll follow up with you folks.
And librarians, that's perfect.
As the EdMud presentation, I would like to add that they address land access. Because I am really tired of having to sign those stupid things. in
Oh,
order to
poor
walk on the
baby.
trail. No, it's just silly. And you have to pay to get the thing and it's a nuisance.
It's a watershed, it's protected, that's why you.
There are accounts there.
I know. I work for those who don't know, I work in.
Nonetheless, I would like them to address land access and.
But
why they
that's
have
a
the
separate,
policies they
that's
do.
a separate thing, it's budget and races they're talking about.
We're in the lowest quartile.
Nonetheless, at some point, I would like to address access on EdMud lands. whether
Okay.
it's in this one or future agenda.
Well, I think that's something that we could probably raise.
Okay.
We can raise it to a different department.
Yes.
That's fine, at that time, but I want it somewhere on the agenda.
Okay, we have that down here.
Yes,
All
I
right.
have it.
So now, do we have anybody else? Any
Um,
suggest any agenda items?
Yes, a couple of things, the parks report, which should be coming in the park working group. The park working group, I would like to have a report out from that at some point soon, because we did
I'm not in that process.
I know, we did a walkthrough of the
Yes.
ground, and so it'd be nice to have, and maybe that can be something that John might talk about.
I'll add that.
His next thing. What's it?
Any further agenda items?
I think it's a good idea.
Going, gone.
Just public.
All right, public comment. So anybody have any public comments?
Items that are not on the agenda.
Yeah, I just think of water plant expansion off of Amend. I would like to do a little update on what things we've gone. We put a lot of input into the plan that was there. And then the next thing I see is I'm coming back in September with the environmental whatever, and it's like, that sounds like the pre-qual was done by then, so I would like to know if it's possible, some interim information.
Yeah,
And that's not for tonight, but that's just an item.
And that is even another different department than dealing with. But no, it's a separate thing.
Can you call it?
Get it on a schedule. I want to.
You know what? Can you give,
Yeah,
send him an email?
Over on Amend, right by Valley View.
The filter plant is expanding.
Oh, that's
We'd like to
right.
have the expansion.
And they're talking about making it look more consistent with the community, and that's really my concerns with the applications that is.
No problem.
Any other public comments?
No, I'd just like to say thank you guys for listening to the public's concerns regarding the up number. I appreciate it.
Maybe the way we have this configured next time will be better. Because it's like. It's kind of a thing about being the back to the door, it's like you never know. So anyhow. I think we were.
Thanks for staying for this whole meeting. I know it's not easy.
Maybe next time we can set it up so the audience is here and we can look at the audience and the TV. Oh, now you're making sense. What is wrong with you? That. I think we're sure, right? Sure, we're adjourned.
We're adjourned.
We're adjourned.